One afternoon, Chibiko was looking out the window at his backyard and wondering what he could do. His backyard was a bit messy. Dirty really, because there was a lot of dirt. But it didn't have many fun things in it. No swing set, no basketball hoop, no vegetable garden, nothing. He returned to his living room and looked at his TV, just in time to see a story about a dog that had dug a hole while looking for a bone that it had buried years ago. Instead of a bone, though, it had found a nugget of gold. Apparently, it was worth a lot of money. Chibiko looked at the picture of the gold nugget in amazement. And then an idea hit him. He could look for gold in his own backyard. He had lots of space to dig in after all. And so, he dug around his old chest, chesty he called it, until he found a spade, and went out into his backyard. If Chibiko's memory from watching pirate cartoons was correct, then if there was any treasure to be found, it would be buried beneath a big letter X, often red in color. Chibiko wandered around his backyard in search of a big red X, but he found nothing. After walking around 3 times, he found a patch in the grass that looked a bit like an X. It was his best lead, and so he got his spade and started digging. Dirt went everywhere. It got all over the grass, colored his windows brown, and made Chibiko himself very dirty. Even though he did a lot of digging, Chibiko had found no signs of gold. Perhaps there was gold buried in a different part of his yard. Chibiko's hole was quite deep though. He jumped once and fell back down. He jumped twice and fell down again. He jumped a 3rd time and climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed until he got out. Phew! Clearly, looking for a big red X wasn't working. Chibiko went back inside, showered, and again dug around inside Chesty. 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 37 minutes later, he pulled out a metal detector. Chibiko took his metal detector outside, switched it on, and started walking around his yard, listening to the beeps. He checked one corner. Beep, beep, beep. He checked the next corner. Beep, beep, beep. He checked a 3rd corner. Beep, beep, beep. He checked the final corner. Beep, beep, beep. Nothing. Chibiko felt a bit sad. He walked back towards his back door, dragging the metal detector behind him. Beep, 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 beep. Chibiko jumped with excitement. His metal detector was beeping super fast. He ran, got his spade, and dug. He dug and dug and dug until he found an old box. "That's strange," he thought to himself. "I guess I should open it." Inside he found a photo of himself as a baby. Wow! He sat and stared at the photo. This must have been buried here years ago, waiting for him to find it. He had completely forgotten that it had been buried here. He felt very happy. He hadn't found any gold, but this treasure was still very good. He was glad that he had spent his afternoon digging up his backyard. Even if he had made a very big mess. Chibiko was sitting in his kitchen, nursing a mug of coffee. It had gotten cold because he didn't usually drink coffee because it was very bitter, and it was taking him a long time to drink it. He was very tired. Danny wandered into the room. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Huh? Oh, Danny," Chibiko said. "How did you get in?" "The door was wide open," Danny answered. "Oh," Chibiko said. "I don't think I've been able to sleep for 2 nights now. I'm trying to drink this coffee to help my brain stay awake, since it's daytime now." "I don't think the coffee can do that," Danny said. "I think that it just stops your body from falling to sleep. And sleep is what you need." "But I can't sleep," Chibiko said. "I may have a cure for that," Danny beamed. "Follow me." And so, Chibiko followed Danny out of his house, almost forgot to shut his door, and then they rode the bus to the bookshop. It had been a long time since they had been to the bookshop. Chibiko looked around in amazement. There really were a lot of books. It also looked like they sold coffee and other drinks. Ooh, they had caramel with chocolate sauce. "Snap out of it!" Danny said. He had already found what he was looking for and was holding a book. Chibiko picked it up and looked at it. It was called The Excellent Adventures of Amazing Danny. "I recommend this one," Danny said. Chibiko didn't know that Danny was in a book. He was very surprised, but he was too sleepy to show it. He was also having trouble finding words. "Okay," he managed to say. "Let's get this one." They bought the book together and then went back home. After they arrived, Danny returned to his treehouse and Chibiko took the book up to his bedroom. The sun was already starting to set as he opened the picture book. Somehow, Danny looked a bit taller in the book than he did in the real world. Chibiko turned the page. He wondered what kind of brave adventures his friend would have. The story started with Danny watching TV. Then it showed him eating breakfast. On the next page, he was playing video games. Chibiko wanted to know what game Danny was playing, but the book didn't say. After this, Danny was reading a comic book. Then, he was going for a walk, buying some milk, laying down in the grass and looking at some clouds. The book wasn't at all what Chibiko had been imagining. He was expecting a story of a hero and maybe dragons or magic or even a car chase. Maybe the next page would be different? Chibiko went to turn the page. He never finished turning. He was fast asleep. Danny might need some help with making his stories a bit more exciting, but at least this one had done exactly what Chibiko had needed it to. One day, Chibiko woke up feeling warmer than he had in a while. In fact, it was so warm that he thought it was almost hot. He was nearly sweating under his blanket. For a moment, Chibiko worried that he might be sick. But he took his temperature and found that it was normal. That's right, he remembered. When you have a fever, you actually feel cold, even though your body is hot. That's a relief. He took a quick shower, but not a hot one, dried himself, and had some cereal for breakfast. He had been eating toast, eggs, and hot porridge a lot recently, but today really did seem warmer, and he wanted something cold. It was only as he was finishing the milk at the bottom of his bowl that he realized that he had been feeling so warm because the weather had been getting warmer. It looked like a beautiful day outside. Chibiko had been spending a lot of time indoors recently, as the weather had been either cold or rainy. But from the looks of things outside of his window, there wasn't a cloud in the sky today. It didn't take him long to decide that today was a day that he would spend outside. The sun shone on Chibiko's face as he stepped out of his front door. It really was a lovely day, although there were, in fact, just a few fluffy clouds in the sky. "What are you doing?" he heard a voice say. Chibiko had been standing and enjoying the warm sun for so long that he had lost track of time and hadn't even noticed Danny approaching him. "Oh, sorry," Chibiko said. "I'm just enjoying the sun. I've not been outside very much recently." "Same here," Danny said, "but today is so sunny. We should go to the park." Chibiko didn't know what Danny intended for them to do at the park, but today was the perfect sort of day for going there, and so they rode the bus to Button Park together. As they walked across the grass, Chibiko wondered if his friend was planning on playing a game like soccer, or hide and seek, or perhaps having a picnic, or racing to see who could find the most yellow buttons. When they got to the middle of the park, though, Danny simply lay down on the grass. "What are you doing?" Chibiko asked. "Lay down next to me and see," Danny said. Chibiko lay down on the grass next to his friend and looked up at the sky. Then he saw it. "I see an ice cream cone!" he exclaimed. "You're always thinking of ice cream," Danny said, and then, "Look over there! It's a hot dog!" Chibiko looked to where his friend was pointing and, sure enough, the clouds looked like a fluffy hot dog. But not just that. Chibiko pointed to another patch of the sky. "I can see a sword," he said. "And there are a bunch of potatoes coming from over there." "Wow!" Danny said. They lay on the grass in the park together and imagined an episode of their favorite TV show, Ninja Hot Dog Squad, playing out in the sky above them. It got very exciting as more and more potato henchmen started appearing, until it started to rain. Chibiko and Danny both ran to the bus stop and rode back home as quickly as they could. It had been a nice day, but next time Chibiko decided that maybe he should also check the weather forecast before spending a day outside without an umbrella. One day, Chibiko was looking at his front yard and wondering if it was time to maybe plant some more jelly beans. Or possibly lollipops. Or candy canes. He wasn't really sure how to grow those, but maybe someone at the supermarket might know. He spent so much time thinking about how to grow candy canes, as well as other things that he could possibly plant, that before he knew it, it had gotten dark outside. Chibiko rubbed his eyes and looked up at the sky. Was it really so late already? Yes, it was. He could see the moon in the sky. It looked big and beautiful and blue. Why was it blue? He had never seen a blue moon before. Chibiko's imagination started to wander. Maybe the moon had gotten very wet, and the blue was caused by the moon's new ocean. Chibiko thought that this was a pretty clever idea. But he had noticed that sometimes the ocean could look a little bit green, and the moon was blue, not green. If it was green, maybe it would be because a lot of trees had started growing on the moon. Or maybe grass. Chibiko liked the idea of trees better, although he wondered if that meant that the moon would turn orange in the autumn. No, if the moon were to be orange, it would obviously be because somebody had spilled a big cup of freshly squeezed orange juice on it. Chibiko liked orange juice a lot, but his favorite freshly squeezed fruit drink was lemonade. But lemons were yellow, and if the moon were yellow, then surely it would be because somebody, maybe an astronaut or an alien, had planted sunflowers all over its surface. Chibiko liked sunflowers, but if he had to choose, he thought that he would prefer the moon to be covered in cherry blossoms. And cherry blossoms were pink. That would make the moon look truly beautiful. The only problem was that when Chibiko thought of cherry blossoms, they made him think of actual cherries. Delicious, round, red cherries. But then the moon would be red, and a red moon seemed a bit scary to Chibiko. Maybe if there were just a few cherries, then they might blend in with the blue of the moon and turn it purple. What are you doing? Chibiko snapped back to attention. How long had he been lost in his imagination for? Danny was now standing next to him with a bag of groceries. He must be on his way home from some late night shopping. Oh, hi Danny, Chibiko said. I noticed that the moon is blue tonight, and I was just wondering why. Well, Danny said, if you ask me, it's because of the presence of smoke or dust particles in the atmosphere. It's pretty rare. We're lucky to see it. Chibiko looked at Danny for a moment. He felt a bit confused and overwhelmed. Don't be silly, he said after a while. It's obviously because somebody threw a big blueberry at it.